I could not believe it when I found out this was propaganda. Actually, it's not true. I guess I kind of could. And I didn't know if I want to make a video about this because I'm pro-choice, so I didn't know if this was something I had enough knowledge about. I'm not an expert on issues of abortion and the whole debate. Look, you guys know I'm rather centrist, so I don't have a lot of facts behind this kind of stuff, which I don't really talk about it that much. But we have this fake news, and I actually had to pull up the Google cache because the original article has been deleted. But I saw this on some website a while ago. It says, I am 23 and I've had 3 abortions. Yes, I have, exclamation point. It's got a picture of this young woman who's like standing on a bridge somewhere. And it says, it's by Heather, August 2nd. And it said, I am proud of who I am. Pictures from the Rogue River Trail west of Grants Pass, Oregon. The only issue is, this is not real news. This is fake news. And this is what really, it really blows my mind about the fake news debate. Like, people act like fake news only comes from the right. And I'm like, wait, who made that up? Fake news comes from literally everybody, I find that like ABC, CBS, NBC, the Wall Street Journal, AP, Reuters, they do a really good job. Those are good news outlets. And I hope they maintain their journalistic integrity. They're not perfect. They get things wrong for sure. But they're a far cry from like the Huffington Post or the Daily Beast, who write just total... Well, Huffington Post isn't that bad. Actually, Huffington Post did one of the best profiles on me shortly before the Sweden trip. I was really impressed because Huffington Post is left and produces a lot of like activist-y op-ed stuff. But the Daily Beast is like... I think the Daily Beast is InfoWars for the left. Seriously. Like, I just did a video about how they called Patriot Prayer a mixed-race, brown-led white supremacy group, and I'm like, okay, you're out of it. But this article is propaganda. It's from a website called Shout Your Abortion. And apparently it's a bunch of stories of women who've had abortions. However, it looks like, at least this story is total fake. It is a total fake. The reason for it is this is a photo of a random woman who apparently is pro-life, has never had an abortion, and actually spoke out complaining about it. I don't know how true either of this is, but it's a phenomenon that people are talking about, so let's talk about it, and always make sure that you hold a little grain of salt when you're dealing with this stuff. So she starts the story by saying, birth control does not always work. Do people not realize that? Why do people think that I should have a child because of an accident? Should I be forced on changing my life for something that I never wanted? Why should I have a child knowing that my life is not ready for such a change? Why do people say that I should burn in hell? Seriously? Do you think I should be living on welfare and food stamps and living in a little studio apartment with a child that I can barely take care of? Seriously? Exclamation point, question mark, exclamation point, question mark. This, like, when I read this, it does seem like it's fake, like it's trying to be overly expressive and emotive when it doesn't need to be. Like, nobody telling their story, at least in my opinion, would write like this. But I do want to address at least some of this. Birth control does not always work. Correct. Do people think that I should have a child because of an accident? In my opinion, technically, I lean towards yes. If you're going to, be hooking up and doing stuff and you get pregnant, I personally don't believe that abortion should be used as a contraceptive. That's just my opinion, okay? However, I am still pro-choice for governmental and libertarian reasons, of which I know people in the comment section are going to call me an amoral murderer and all that stuff, and like, yeah, I get it. But here's the thing. This position she's in is much more like, why should I be forced on changing my life for something that I never wanted? Well, listen, when you engage in intercourse, pregnancy is a possibility, and when you ask people you said birth control does not always work, do people not realize that? I would ask you, do you not realize that? Because you're calling it an accident, saying something you never wanted. Okay, well, condoms are effective. I know you're on birth control, but sometimes you should probably use a condom for more than just that reason. I mean, STDs and things like that. So, just why should I have a child knowing that my life is not ready for such a change? Well, look, why should you have a child? Because I don't think you should, look, I believe that life begins at conception just because that's kind of how the law works, right? If a woman is pregnant and you hit her and then she has a miscarriage, you can be charged for killing that baby. And I think this is a very opinionated thing right here. We shouldn't be trying to, how do you draw a line on what is or is not life? It becomes a very slippery slope to where you're like, how do we quantify what is or is not worthy of being alive? If there is something within you that we can quantify and say that is well connected and a cluster of cells, whatever you want to call it, is still independent and growing on its own and will become, and is something else. Okay, there we go. That's where I think we should draw the line. So if you're not ready for that change, I think we need to make sure we're telling people about responsibility, right? Plain and simple. Granted, admitting all this, but knowing, well, I'll talk about my pro-choice stance after this. I really don't, but I will. I know people are going to freak out. Why do people say that I should burn in hell? Yeah, that's dumb. You shouldn't. Seriously, do you think I should be living on welfare and food stamps and living in a little studio apartment with a child that I can barely take care of? No, personally, I don't. And I don't know what the solution is, but that's a challenge. It is. And I'm just going to go through this quickly because I want to talk about the fake news so much, but my general position is that I don't like the idea of the government being able to mandate what someone can or can't do with their body. And I know immediately people are going to be like, no, it's an independent life, and then she's killing it, and they shouldn't be allowed to do that. But my argument is, and I'm absolutely willing to debate, is that pointing a gun at someone's head and pulling the trigger is vastly different from removing someone from your bloodstream. Okay, so if there is a life within the womb of a woman, and it is consuming nutrients through her body, I don't like the idea that we could have the government mandate that someone must provide their body to another person. I don't like the idea of killing, and I do believe the government has a right to say, hey, you can't kill. But there's a difference between shooting somebody and like if a vampire was drinking your blood and you removed them. Okay, I understand that this is a very nuanced argument, but ultimately my main concern rests with I would rather that I just don't want to see the government have this kind of control. That's really, really plain and simple. And you know what? I don't know. You can comment and tell me exactly why I'm wrong, but I just happen to be pro-choice for that reason. So anyway, let's get to the point of the story because I'm going to rattle on too much about actual abortion stuff. But she talks about how she had her first abortion, and she said, I goofed. I admit it, I goofed. And this is what kind of shocks me about this because things like this actually, I can imagine these kind of articles actually making people become pro-life. Look, man, you goofed. Having an abortion because you goofed is kind of, in my opinion, shocking. Like to frame it that way, because I've always, at least growing up, it's kind of crazy for me to read this stuff. Abortion, it was always something to be mourned, painful, it was difficult, it was never easy, and that's how the left was framing it. That you think women want to go through this, you think they enjoy experiencing this, and I'm like, you're right, it is a terrible thing. It's a huge emotional burden, it's painful, and yes, they don't want to. But a lot of the abortion debate now is being framed like, oops, you had that piece from Michelle Wolf where she was like, everybody go get abortions, and it's just like, whoa, man, like, dude. You had Lena Dunham saying she wished she had an abortion, and it's like, whoa, dude. What, man? It like, I begrudgingly am pro-choice, right? Because I would argue, like, I oppose the death penalty, right? Because I think that there is something within life that I don't know what it is. Maybe you can call it a soul or some kind of experience. It's hard to explain, but I'll put it like this: try and imagine what it's like to not exist. Okay, what you have in existence is something that we don't quite understand, and we don't know what happens if that's snuffed out. And so, for me, I feel it is absolutely wrong to take away the existence of something else, right? Regardless of its life. And yes, this includes plants and animals. I am fully aware. I also recognize that life consumes other life to grow and flourish and to further adapt, and that's why I'm not a vegetarian, though admittedly I don't really eat beef, so I don't think a lot of people knew that. But I do eat chicken, a lot of chicken, and fish, sometimes. But while I recognize that snuffing a life from a philosophical point of view, I just try to imagine what it's like to lose your existence. You can't. We don't understand what that would be like. And so it's actually rather terrifying when you imagine someone's taking that away from you. And that's why I'm like, this scares me. However, as much as I recognize that philosophically, I am more worried about the ramifications of a government having certain powers and expansive powers within the life we live. So it's complicated. It's a very complicated thing. But anyway, let's get to the point of the story, because it turns out that this woman who was featured, at least according to this other website, maybe this is propaganda. It says, last month, Shout Your Abortion, a pro-abortion organization who seeks to normalize the killing of children, that's a very biased framing of this, published a story to have their website titled, I am 23 and I've had 3 abortions. Yes, I have. The story was purportedly submitted by a woman named Heather Readers were made to believe the cover image was one of the writer, but it has since been discovered the photo was stolen. So apparently, Molly Shep, the actual woman pictured, reached out to Canadian pro-life organization Choice 42, seeing her photo circulating on social media. So I don't know if this is up on their website, but let's see what Choice 42 has. This is a pro-life organization, apparently. And, okay, so I guess they don't. But it says, she writes, "My name is Molly, I'm 24, and I want to make it clear that I have never had an abortion. I was horrified to wake up yesterday and learn that a photo of me was stolen and used without my permission or knowledge on a post for Shout Your Abortion, a website that encourages women to share their stories of abortions." Molly goes on to reveal that she is actually very pro-life and has even donated to pro-life causes. Although she is troubled by what happened, Molly is using the situation to send a message. So here's the actual website. So you can't see it, but this is the real website where the article used to be. This is a Google Cache version. Okay, I don't know if you can see this part up here, but this is, I went to Google and found basically it's an archive because the actual article no longer exists. You know, so add your voice. Let's see what else this website has. So they say that Shout Your Abortion emerged in 2015 as thousands used the hashtag to voice their own abortion experiences and reject the expectation of silence and shame. The movement continues to grow, powered by the idea that anti-choice legislation cannot survive if talking about abortion becomes as normal as the procedure itself. And okay, that's about it. Let's see what happens if I click add your voice. Let's see what happens if I put Shout Your Abortion. So here's actually this is really interesting. It's possible that the website is just user-generated content and someone faked it, some random person. So let's see what happens if you do write your story. The space is a blank slate for you to describe your abortion story in whatever form or tone you choose it to be. It could be a poem, it could be abstract or literal, and can include as much or as little detail as you like. You don't need to be a professional writer to share your abortion story. I think what we can see right here is that it's entirely possible whoever wrote this story was a liar who wrote and submitted. I think because the user-generated site that's simply trying to share stories from people, I don't believe they're necessarily responsible. I'm not going to blame Twitter for what people are saying. But it sounds like somebody was trying to push an agenda and made a fake article. And there you go. However, at the same time, Human Defense Initiative is also a pro-life organization. So all we really have on this between these two stories is two groups kind of button heads, and it is what it is. Anyway, you know, you can just make general assumptions about what my positions are going to be as a social liberal, which means I am just left of center, meaning I am not going to be a far-left individual who's going to cheer like Michelle Wolf did for abortion, because I find that terrifying and actually believe it's counterproductive if you're trying to advocate for something like pro-choice. But I am begrudgingly pro-choice in that I can explain it very simply, but I understand if I was going to actually explain my philosophy and like my understanding and like my opinions, it would take much, much longer than just the 13 minutes I've been talking so far. It's just, we're alive now, and it worries me that we would empower a system to have certain controls over how we function. And to me, it's worrisome, it is. I think ultimately the argument stems from there are instances where women need to have abortions and have a right to. And while I disagree with abortion being used as a form of contraceptive, like, oops, made a mistake, gonna go to abortion, at the same time, I don't want to restrict access simply because some people are doing that. There are far too many crimes in this world to stop all of them. But what I want to make sure is that we have a system in place for the women that actually do need the help and do, actually experience some kind of issue, and I don't want to see them rejected because of it. There was one story where a woman had a miscarriage, or I don't know if it was a miscarriage, but she actually had the baby died within her, and she needed to take medicine to kind of deal with it, and a pharmacist wouldn't give it to her. And I don't want to get into a big debate over it right now, but by all means, you can say whatever you want about me in the comments. But look up the story, because these things happen. And when I see stories like that, like a woman who needs an actual medical procedure over something she never wanted, and I'm like, this is why we should err on the side of the innocent and not the potential criminals. Someone said to me that, yes, but what about the innocent babies? And I'm like, yes, you are right, absolutely. But like Blackstone's formulation states, it's better that 10 guilty persons escape than one innocent suffer. And I understand that you might have people who are getting abortions just because they feel like it, and it's not an important issue. And while I disagree with that, I would not take away access to women who are in need of help and are suffering simply because there are some people who do things I don't like or that are immoral or wrong. It's a huge ethical dilemma. It exists. But anyway, I don't want to prattle on too much. Comment below, and it looks like we're going to have another huge abortion debate where everyone calls me a psychopathic murderer, but by all means, you're free to do so. And I got another video coming up like 10 seconds ago.